Hi, and welcome to my presentation on Mean Girls, Youth Culture, and Diversity. So, I'm going to be answering what is the relationship between students, teachers, and parents in the film, how do youth perceive adults, and how do such relationships support, restrict student opportunity or identity, and how so? So, starting off with a quote here, I hate her, I mean she's really failing me on purpose just because I didn't join that stupid mathletes. She was so queer, she was like, I'm a pusher, Katie, I'm a pusher. So I really like that previous quote there. It just shows kind of the relationship that students hold with adults in the film. It's present kind of throughout the whole movie, and it's a good theme throughout the movie. So I'm going to be going through our students and our teachers and our parents' relationships. So in the movie, the teachers are seen as antagonists to the plastics. It's like the teachers are against them, and they're seen to hold personal grudges. And this view kind of changes, but it is present throughout the whole movie. In my opinion, the parents are seen as pawns in the movie. They're just kind of used to advance social status, and they're manipulated so that the students can do that. And the other students are seen as enemies to one another within their social groups. They're just finding ways that they can fight and bring each other down. And this is really portrayed really well in the movie when they have those animal fighting scenes. I think that's quite a good example of how those groups are interacting with one another.
Katie, is that all the work is right and just the answers are wrong. Really? Really? Katie, I know that having a boyfriend may seem like the most important thing in the world right now, but you don't have to dumb yourself down to get guys to like you. How would you know? I know. How would I know, right? I'm divorced. I'm broke from getting divorced. The only guy that ever calls my house is Randy from Chase Visa. And you know why? Because I'm a pusher. I push people. I pushed my husband into law school. That was a bust. I pushed myself into working 3 jobs. And now I'm going to push you because I know you're smarter than this.
Thanks, Miss Norbury. And if there's anything I can do for extra credit, please let me know.
Oh, I will.
I hate her! I mean, she's totally failing me on purpose because I didn't join those stupid mathletes. She was so queer. She was like, I'm a pusher, Katie. I'm a pusher.
What does that even mean?
Like a drug pusher? Probably. She said she works 3 jobs. You know, I bet she sells drugs on the side to pay for a pathetic divorce. You let it out, honey. Put it in the book. I know.
Okay, so I think this scene is so perfect at showing the relationship that the plastics have with the teachers and kind of the adults too in the film. So Miss Norbury, the teacher, is seeing Katie's potential, and she's wanting her to join mathletes and not be so focused on what a boy thinks of her and achieve as much as she can academically. And Katie just views this as an attack on her, and she's going to try to disempower her teacher and impress her peers through doing this. So I think this scene's really important too. It's showing Miss Norbury's character and how she's trying to help Katie develop her identity and how she's trying to help her kind of push through those times as a youth when you're kind of conflicted between, do I want to impress my peers or do I want to kind of follow my own thing and join the mathletes like she really wants to and what she's actually passionate about. So in the scene that I just showed, you can see that after she has that conversation with her teacher, she goes back and she's vents with her peers, and then she's going to take it even one step further, and this step further is her wanting to be liked by her friends, and she's going to write that down in that so-called burn book. So although this is kind of a time before the generation now, I think similar ideas are still occurring, and they do occur kind of all throughout time within youth, and that youth are greatly influenced by impressing their peers and they want to fit in. A big theme throughout the film is the disempowering of other women, despite your social status within the film. So here, Katie is doing it to her teacher, like I said, who's trying to push her for success and be a successful young woman in math, which isn't usually the case. And Katie's seeing this as an attack. So like I said, that disempowering of women is a big theme throughout the movie. all the girls are kind of rooted against each other. And yeah, you can just see that, especially in the one scene where they're having that kind of coming together where they're talking about their feelings in the gym, and she's saying, "Oh, you can't call each other bitches or sluts because that's what you're just giving the guys power to call you that." So I like that the kind of theme of it does come around eventually, and that disempowering of women is broken down a bit, and they move away from that. I feel like I said the general theme of teachers in the movie is that they're kind of seen, at least throughout the beginning of the movie, they're seen as someone who's against the students, someone who's working not with them. And although, like, as a viewer, you can see that Miss Norbury is trying to help the students, but as a youth, you're not looking for that right now. You're just trying to impress your peers. Okay, so moving on to how do youth perceive adults. So I took this kind of as viewing the parents in the film. So I compared Katie's parents to Regina's mom or parents, and so Katie's parents are seen as authoritative. They do have good intentions, but they're not very flexible, and they are supportive, but they do have very high expectations of their daughter. And then Regina's parents, they're more permissive and kind of she's trying to take that I'm your friend approach and I'm cool approach with her parenting style. She does have really good intentions. She's a little bit more flexible. She's supportive as well, and she holds a little bit more realistic expectations of her daughter and her kids. So, although these are quite different parenting styles, they do both have good intentions, and I guess they are both kind of used to advance their daughter's social status. Regina's mom is more relaxed and open to conversations with her kid. She, like in the one scene, she offers them drinks, and they're virgin drinks, but she says, "Oh, do you want alcohol? If you do, I prefer if you drink it here." So I think that's kind of shows how she's open to, I don't know, letting her daughter explore who she is and who she wants to be. Whereas with Katie's parents, that would have never really been an option, and she has to do more sneaking around her parents and lying to them. So they do have some similarities and some differences, but I think what's quite interesting is they have produced very different children. I think this idea of the parenting styles could be an entire essay on its own, so I'm not going to go too much more into it, but yeah, it is quite interesting watching it throughout the film and how the different girls interact with each other and with their peers and with adults. A common theme that can be seen between both parents is that their daughters are using them to advance their social progress. Katie has that secret party when her parents aren't home, and yeah, she's kind of just using them to be seen as cool to her peers, and she's not really worried about what her parents think or if she's going to get grounded or things like that. So, moving on to other students in the film. So, like mentioned, through a lot of the things in the movie, the majority of the relationships in the movie are built on advancing that social status. Like I said again, I love these scenes where they're fighting like the animals in the movie. I think it's so appropriate, and yeah, it is truly what is going on inside their heads. It might not be shown physically, but they are pretty much fighting each other to be top dog. It's true for all the students as well. So at the beginning of the movie, Katie becomes friends with I think they're called the art nerds, Damien and Janice, and she becomes friends with them. And at first you kind of think this is a genuine relationship. And then Katie gets pressured into using the plastic pretty much to get information on them so Janice can blackmail them. So that relationship in itself is built on, I guess, advancing Janice's own social status. So it's not really as genuine as they want it to seem. And it still is true when Katie becomes closer friends with the plastics. She participates in many risky behaviors and uses pretty much everyone in her life to advance her own personal agenda. I think just like something to add onto this slide is that as a youth and a teenager, it's so difficult to find your own identity while you're trying to navigate through all these different social realms of who you want to be friends with and who you should be friends with and how to advance your social status. So this idea of identity, it's so tricky for young people, and this movie does such a good job of exemplifying kind of what can happen while you're trying to find your identity. And it can be seen kind of towards the end that Katie does eventually achieve that, at least in a sense. She finds who she thinks she is more and is moving away from impressing her peers, which is really great for young people to see. But again, it does exemplify that regardless of your social status, if you're an art geek or a plastic, you still are greatly influenced by your peers and what they think of you. And as a youth, that's going to drive a lot of your decisions. So the youth culture and Mean Girls. It's known that adolescents partake in risky behavior because of how neurocognitive development occurs within their brains. So this is a known scientific fact. It's just how brains develop. We learned about it in a few of our other classes. And during this time, when adolescents are spending lots of time with their peers, the research suggests that pure-related stimuli may sensitize the reward system and respond to the reward value of a risky behavior. So you partake in a risky behavior in front of your peers, your body's gonna reward your brain for that, and you're going to see that as something that gives you dopamine, and it's going to be seen as a positive outcome kind of for your brain. And this, I guess, neurological background behind this is the exact reason why Katie becomes a mean girl, and she's partakes in all these risky behaviors in pretty much all realms of her life. She's drinking, she's lying, and this is all to impress her peers and increase that stimuli that you're getting from that system. So because of this, with friends, increases adolescent sensitivity to rewards. Thus, the presence of peers makes the already sensitive reward system even more sensitive to potential rewards. And this is the same for the opposite of negative interactions. So you're having such highs and highs on those risky behaviors and impressing your peers, and then when you are confronted with a negative interaction, you're going to see that as very, very low. So that was portrayed in that scene I showed earlier, where Katie, she pretty much has this irrational lashing out reaction to her teacher trying to push her further and better herself, and she's seeing that as an attack on herself, and that isn't it that is the brain development, and that's kind of the thing that adolescents are going through as well, which makes it so difficult for them to develop their identity. They're having all these different emotions and rewards, and it's so complex for them. So I want to just kind of an additional slide on Mean Girls today. I think in today's world, the idea of Mean Girls is so relevant, but it has transformed a lot. So Mean Girls in the social media area is a whole nother monster. I think the youth today, what they're facing is even worse than what was going on in the Mean Girls movie. The Mean Girls persona or idea of a person, I think, has become even more relevant and an even bigger monster in a sense. Social media it's so accessible, and you can partake in risky behavior anywhere, anytime to impress your peers. So you're constantly wanting that reward. And it's as simple as making a rude comment on Instagram, or sending a rude text to a friend, or talking behind someone's back through WhatsApp or iMessage. You're way less involved. You're not doing it face to face. So it's way easier to partake in these actions, and it's going to have the same influence on that reward part of your brain. So I think Mean Girls today, our youth today are facing so many more problems. And in the movie, you could see that it was already so complex. So you add social media into this mix, and developing that identity is going to just be even more complex of a problem for the youth today. There's just so much more for them to navigate and block out and push through. And yeah, I think this movie, it's so great for our adolescents to watch and just kind of see how the social classes work and how you can push through that peer influence and really develop your true identity like Katie does in the end.